It's the only person below White Holiday in the Comicsgate phone book. It's my favorite failed clone of Peter Sammetti. The YouTube guys. How you doing, Conrad? Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to WyzGyz Entertainment. This is your host, Wyman. We are joined today by our special guest, Eudaimonia Comix. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. Always good to have you here. So as you may recall, man, it's been a while, hasn't it, since you were last here?
Have I been on here before?
I thought. Oh shoot! I thought so. Wait a minute. Uh-oh. Is this literally your first time?
I think so.
What the bloody hell? How is that possible? I swear I swear I would have invited you.
I think we've talked about me coming on a bunch of times, but I don't think it ever happened.
My goodness gracious me, oh my. Wow. Well, I apologize for that.
Oh, it's all right.
Dang.
Finally made it work.
Wow. Holy cow. Yeah, so yeah. Wow. Finally made it happen. All right. So that said, as you may be familiar, on my channel I like to take kind of a deeper dive, get to know the creator some more. I love to tap into your quote-unquote origin story.
Okay.
What were you into when you were younger? Were you into comics, movies, toys, comic books? And what were the major milestones in your life that led you down the road to eventually becoming this crowdfunding comic creator?
So I would say my childhood was kind of a mishmash. It was kind of all over the place. I would say out of the different mediums, cartoons would probably be where my feet were most entrenched. I read comics a little bit, but I just have more of a background in cartoons, generally speaking. It really wasn't until I went to college and I started studying literature, and then eventually started doing comic studies, and kind of seeing comics through a different, sort of perspective, and seeing the parallels between just seeing it as like a storytelling medium in a way that I hadn't really considered it before. And then I kind of got into I love creative writing, but I just don't have the ability to tell really long stories. I would never write like a 300-page novel.
Okay, all right.
Because I just don't have the attention span for it. But comic books are like that perfect, like, just sweet spot, that little, whether it's a 100-page graphic novel or a 25-page comic, that's just like the perfect kind of outlet for me to be able to kind of cram a story in and just put it in, include as much information as my ADD addled brain finds necessary, and do it in a way that's compelling. And it just kind of seemed to be a natural fit for my storytelling abilities.
All right. So I mean, so you gravitated towards cartoons?
Yeah, at first. Let's see here.
Like,
So as a kid, like a lot of like GoBots, Transformers, and then a little bit later, that sweet spot of coming home from school and watching like Chippendales Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, and then a little bit older it was like Eon Flux, the Max, the Head.
Oh yeah, those were good.
Yeah, and then even as an adult, the Venture Brothers is probably my favorite cartoon of all time.
All right. So you didn't get into on the Rick and Morty wagon?
I watched the first season, and then as it got more and more popular, I became more and more embarrassed for the show. Because like I enjoyed it as a piece of entertainment. I didn't really enjoy it as a piece of philosophy, which is what other people seem to take it as.
Oh my gosh, philosophy, really?
Yeah, I mean it's like run of the mill nihilism, basically.
Hmm. Uh, so, do you think any of the cartoons you watched influence you at all in terms of writing?
Um, I would say the Max definitely. The Max is kind of what the Max kind of steered me towards actually, finding the comics and reading those. So definitely the Max. Um, there's towards the end of How to Die, actually the back cover of How to Die, that whole car scene, that is right from the Venture Brothers when Brock Sampson drives his, it's even the same car, drives his 69 Charger through a building to crash into somebody. Um, but yeah, I would say a lot of I have a lot of influences from, a lot of the thematic influences come more from comic books and cartoons, I would say.
Were you a big comics collector when you were a kid?
Not big. I was, like I said, I was kind of into everything. The first comic book I ever got was, I actually traded baseball cards to get it.
Oh,
Because I just did everything. I did sports. I did, I would gravitate towards anything. So I had my hand in a lot of different things. Um, when I was a kid, oh man. See what I would do, I never owned a lot of comic books. I would love to just go to the library and just grab up whatever was there. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have a lot of money. So I would just like, you know, go to the library and read like Wolverine, Punisher, and um, a lot of Spider-Man. Spider-Man was probably the biggest influence me as far as like writing, like thematically speaking.
so when you went to the library, it was mostly for the comic books, or did you also try and get into the longer novels and books and stories?
No, I didn't really get into that until I was a little bit older. I didn't have the kind of appreciation for storytelling as a kid. So like a lot of it didn't grab me. It was just kind of like something to do. But then yeah, as I got older, I got a little bit more into like the longer forms things.
Okay. Welcome, Madanui. Hi. Sorry we were late, Madanui. You were actually definitely on time. In fact, you were a little early. Welcome, Pops. How's it going? Yes, you are on time again. Like I said, you were a little early too, which is awesome. Appreciate you. Um, do you actually have any formal storytelling training? Like, did you get a degree in English or arts? I mean, literature, arts.
Yeah, so it was only a couple years ago, but I graduated from the University of Oregon with a bachelor's in um, English lit and slash creative writing. I did a kind of intensive writing workshop program out there, and I ended up winning the Matthew Knight Library Poetry Prize. So like, yeah, a lot of my background as far as literature is just like really classic, really old. Yeah, and yeah, just like like, so if you checked out Eudaimonia, Eudaimonia is kind of a love letter to, it was basically me trying to put like classic storytelling into the form of a comic book, which is why you have it written in like a kind of a like verse.
Okay, all right. What sort of when you go for a bachelor's in that field? What sort of what sort of works do they have you study on their curriculum? I
Uh,
mean,
I I would say English literature is kind of like studying English literature is kind of like history and philosophy, in that you would go in and you would study like a very broad range, and then you would just kind of naturally gravitate towards the things that interest you. So for English literature, for example, there's the literary canon, and you basically kind of naturally hone in on the things that you just find really interesting. So for me, that was like basically the Enlightenment. So being a lover of philosophy and history, those are just the things I ended up focusing on, and I ended up studying early 20th century, late 19th century, and that was in both history, philosophy, and English literature. So a lot of like World War One stuff. Noirlem is heavily influenced by like the Harlem Renaissance, just because that's just the stuff I love. And as a writer, like I'm basically emulating. I'm trying to recreate the things that moved me in a way to hopefully move other people, but in the form of a comic book.
Okay. Do you know early on that you wanted to go this route and get a degree in literature, creative writing?
No, I went back to school to become a math teacher, and I took I was in community college, and I ended up taking one of those required courses, and it was just like an English literature course, and I wasn't expecting a whole lot, but the teacher was just like, she was so enthusiastic about it, and me just being the kind of person that I am, that like if I do something, I do it like 10,000%. So I was in this crappy community college, and I was just trying harder than anybody else in the course. And so she just came up to me one day and she's like, "Hey, you should really you're good at this. Like, you should maybe go into like honors courses." And so she ended up being my inspiration. And I kind of fell in love with literature through her, and I
Wow.
never really stopped.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What a difference a good teacher makes.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they catch a lot of crap, but sometimes you find a real gem, and they make all the difference in your life and your career ultimately. Thanks for spreading the word. Appreciate it. And so, as you started down this path of literature, you didn't find it at all boring or tough. I mean, well, obviously you were good enough to go into honors courses, and I presume you excelled in those courses as well.
Yeah, and really, I would say the thing about studying literature is that it makes you kind of rethink everything. So when I started studying literature, I would never think, I probably wouldn't see a connection between the kind of rigorous study there and comic books. But studying English literature made me kind of see comic books in a different light and see their value and see all of these aspects to comic book storytelling that I had just never really put together before. Um, Especially like, oh my gosh, and so if you think about it, like just all of the different ways in which all of the different things that are accomplished in comic books through like the visual medium is staggering to me. Like all of the amount of effort that went into it as far back as like the very dawn of comic books. It's amazing. It's amazing to me because you can look back at books from like the early 20th century, and you can see the issues that the creators were dealing with at the time, um, and how they convey that through both the stories they tell and the art that's on the page. That is just endlessly fascinating to me.
Cool. Um, did they include courses where they had all the students, take the time to check out comics, or was that just something?
No, comic studies is actually it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing. I mean, it's academia, so you can expect there to be some blue-haired BS, but it's like, and I just came out of a West Coast university a couple years ago, um, but it's like if you go into it striving to think for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
all you're really doing is you're being presented with all this, multicolored haired insanity, but it just makes you better at refining the things that you believe and being able to counter it by having that knowledge, even more so. And so like when I when I look at the news now and I see all this new crazy stuff, it's not new to me. I've known about it for years. In fact, I was probably studying half of it as like academic theory just a few years ago.
Academic theory. And that's interesting.
So if you have any questions about what the literary canon of comic books is, I can basically spell it out for you.
Okay.
It's early Spider-Man, early Wonder Woman, Fantastic Four of like the 60s, early Spider-Man. I think we had some 90s. I think we had some Black Panther in there. And then it was like a couple other things. Oh, and then Greg Rucka showed up and talked to us.
Did you have a lot of guests from the industry?
He had 3 or 4, but there was Rucka and then there was another one. That was the only one I remember. Rucka was hilarious and not like it was like I was laughing at him, not with him.
Oh man. Wow.
I think David Walker was the other one.
Did you find their visits beneficial?
No, not really. Rucka went up there and like the first thing he said, he was telling us, first off, okay, here's what you need to know about comic pros and a lot of college professors. When they talk to students, they cuss a lot.
No.
But it always feels like they're trying. It's like that "Hello, fellow kids" thing. It's like they're trying to sound like edgy and cool, but they're like they're in their 40s, so they don't pull it off at all. But yeah, Rucka came in and told us this story about meeting. Who did he say he met? He said something about how like when he was going to write Wonder Woman, he met with Gloria Steinem. That's who it was, the famous feminist.
Really?
And he told us this story about how he met her, and he was like, I was just so in awe of her brilliance. I was like, well, that's a stupid story. Like, you met this important person, and you didn't even feel like you could say anything? Like, that doesn't make you look smart. That makes you look, wimpy.
He didn't take the time to talk to her?
Yeah. I don't know.
He was just in awe?
Yeah. And then he cussed a bunch of times to make us think he's cool. His freaking Wonder Woman story about like an embassy or something.
Wow, that doesn't sound like she was very much of an influence to him.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome, Lola.
Hey, Lola, thank you.
Hello. Eudaimonia was fucking phenomenal. Hey, games, movies, and comics are us. Welcome, welcome. Hey,
I'm sorry, I keep coughing on your mic or on your show.
No, you're good. It happens.
Oh man, I gotta update my Streamlabs things. I still have How to Die on there.
Yeah, I had to make sure all my information was current. Yeah, so in addition to delving into comics, did you spend any time exploring things like poetry and songwriting?
Songwriting, no, but I will always have a soft spot in my heart for poetry. I just think it's not only is it amazing, but it's so vast. Like it's something that it's one of those things that like you can't even trace it back to anything really because every culture just started doing it. It's like burying your dead. No one invented burying your dead. Everybody just thought that would be the best idea to do. Just like poetry and storytelling was something that every culture came up with in their own way.
Right.
So like, okay, I'll just give you an example that I find interesting. Like everybody knows what a haiku is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't really know what a haiku is. Because you go to school and you learn that a haiku is a poem of 3 lines with 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and 5 syllables. But the part that nobody ever learns about in school is that a haiku is really 3 lines and it's comparing 2 different things. So one line is dedicated to one thing, one second line is dedicated to another, and the third is comparing it. So we have this kind of misunderstanding of what a haiku actually is.
True.
Because we get it through like whispers.
Yeah. I'm guilty of that. I forgot that you're supposed to be comparing the two things in the first and third lines. Welcome, Indie Wrestling Aces. How's it going? Yo, peeps. Yeah, so you went through, you got this degree. Was there, even though you were learning literature and arts, comics, poetry, did they still continue to stress things like punctuation, spelling, grammar?
Yeah, so the best way I could put it is not a lot of English is one of those degrees that it basically has the bad rep that it's going to be useless. And a lot of college degrees are useless, but what I think getting a degree in English basically means is it's teaching you how to dissect and communicate. And we're still at a point where you need to have punctuation, but more importantly, you need to be able to structure, whether it's an argument, whether it's an analysis, and you need to be able to put these things in a way that is sensical to the normal, to anybody reading it. And it does actually have a use. I would say even for finding jobs. Like I know that everybody says, "Oh, dude, English degree in college is worthless." It really isn't, because it basically sets you up to be able to go into any field of work and be able to say, I don't know what you do, but I can analyze it and I can talk about it and I can convey ideas in a way that people will find coherent. And in order to do that, you have to be able to, you know, you have to the repetitive act of analyzing things, um, forming an argument, and being able to present it to people. And so, in that way, English is definitely still useful.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's impressive. That's a good point. Something they wouldn't normally necessarily think about it.
And I'm proof. I have a job in an industry that I don't know anything at all about.
Was there a prerequisite to learn something like Latin?
I think most universities still have a language requirement, and this is the tragic story. I barely graduated from high school because, like I said, I was a kind of an idiot kid. My senior year of high school, I got a D- in Spanish. So when I went to go to college, they had to make me take 2 years of a language because of something that happened like 15 years prior. So I did end up taking un peu de français.
Un peu. Très bien.
Bon.
So did you take 2 years of it?
Yeah, not a lot stuck, but yeah, I mean, it is helpful. I think the only thing that stuck with me is, they call it Franglish, or I think that's what it's called, Franglish. Where you basically, if you don't know what a word is, you just pronounce it in English, and there's a good chance that you're right.
Yeah, like franglais.
Oui.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, you need to know some of the basics, like où est le WC, which is where's the restroom. But yeah. I took French in high school. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I took a little bit of Old English too, but like none of that stuck at all.
Oh, there's a course in Old English?
Yeah. I think literally the only thing I remember is what.
Huh.
Which is the first word in Beowulf.
Oh. Is that why you remember it to this day?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So did you, after you graduated with your bachelor's, do you immediately seek out, or prior to that even, do you seek out jobs that were specifically based on writing?
No. What I did is, okay, so I took my last semester is when I did the comic studies thing, and we had like a kind of final project that could be whatever you want, and that is where I started creating Eudaimonia. So I ended up drawing it on pencil on paper. It was terrible. That's where that came from. When I graduated, my plan was basically I just went to a temp agency and I said, and if you go to a temp agency, if you really need work, if you can put two sentences together, you're going to be like one of the top guys there. So I basically just went to a temp agency and I started taking any job that was in an office. And the idea being I want to go get a job and just whatever it is, whatever industry it is, I want to kick the most ass and just work and create work that I can afford to, keep myself afloat and create how I want to create. And that's pretty much what I did. I'm still doing that. I still have a 9 to 5, keyboard monkey job. And yeah, it affords me the ability to just do things how I want to do them.
Well, so you've actually. Oh, I also meant to ask. In your studies, when you were getting your degree, did they also have a series of courses that having to do with editing?
Um, if they do, I wasn't aware of it. I didn't. The University of Oregon doesn't have a creative writing major. I want to say that something like that you would probably have to go to grad school. Um, I also think that most editors have a. I think they just study creative writing. Like
Hmm.
creative writing is kind of the blanket field of study for everything. So if you talk to like a literary agent, there's a good chance they did creative writing. Because I think it's just one of those things that no matter what you're doing in the industry, the key to getting good at it is to keep doing it over and over and over and over again. So anybody from like the readers to the literary agents to editors to that's just something you just have to I mean it is a lot like comics, like you have to do it in order to do it.
Mm-hmm. Now you obviously became uh, a, your strength is writing, storytelling. Did you, in the process of going through your coursework, also spend time honing your craft and skill in drawing?
No, I'm horrendous.
All right.
um I think that from so my next book will be like my third book. No, wait, fourth. It'll be my fourth book. I think I'm getting better at script writing, and the thing that I'm really struggling with is making editorial decisions, like getting art from the artists that I work with, and being able to say, "Hey, this is what I need," and that's something that I've kind of struggled with a little bit. Um, but I think I'm getting better at that. I think my script writing is getting to be really good. It's always a fine line because it's like you don't want to handcuff an artist. You want them to be able to breathe. You want them to kind of inject their vision into the work. So it's a tough balance, and I think I'm starting to get a little bit better at being able to give an artist a script that is clear, but allows them to put themselves on the page.
So, what is your uh, style of script writing? Do you make it pretty detailed, uh, including like angles and stuff, and even maybe uh, rough sketches of how you want it laid out?
I usually do. I organize the page by panels, like it'll say at the top like how many panels are going to be, and then it'll be like panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, and then give kind of directions for what should be in the image. I will give angles if I think it's something that's really important to what if I picture something in my head and it needs to be from a certain angle, I'll include it. If not, I'll kind of let the artist have free reign.
Cool. And do you find the process of character design uh, easy or challenging?
I tend to think of characters as being being a series of moments and actions and motivations. And I think that the characterization comes from not so much the actions, like what you see them do or hear them say when there's something exciting going on, but how they react to things happening in the story that maybe aren't as exciting. Um, so if you've if you've read How to Die, and by the way, hit me up if anybody listening to this or on the show wants a digital copy. Um, I think my strength as a writer is giving my characters dialogue and actions that kind of set themselves up to be memorable. Um, Even characters that like might not be integral to the overall plot. In How to Die 1, there's the records or the VHS store manager. I think people who read that book are going to remember that character, even if they don't remember that his name is Tom or that he probably is never going to appear in the rest of the story or the rest of the series. They're going to remember that by his earnestness is going to be something that they're going to remember. So I'd say characterization is just something that I I focus so much on when I consume media, so I spend a lot of time thinking about it when I create media.
Mm. And since this is what your third campaign so far,
Oh man, fifth campaign, fourth book. The
oh wow,
3 and 4 were a nightmare.
uh,
Um,
in what way?
okay. I don't know what happened on Indiegogo, but my first campaign for How to Die basically got ghosted from the system. Um,
What?
so the only way anybody could, so like if you pulled up comics on Indiegogo and you sorted by funds raised, it wouldn't show up no matter how far you scroll down. It just disappeared. So the only way people could find it is if they happened to search for How to Die on Indiegogo. And I emailed Indiegogo support so many times and I just never heard from them. So I ended
What?
up having to do a relaunch of the campaign, but then because, you know, all of the momentum from that first campaign, all of the initial backers that I'd gotten were on the first campaign. I didn't refund anybody. I just didn't have the chance to have that kind of like, momentum and build up or anything like that because my mailing list backers had already backed. So I couldn't, ask them for anything more. So it ended up just being like a big mess.
Whoa, that's surprising because usually from the other stories I've heard from about Indiegogo is that they've been really good people.
Well, the worst thing is that it was probably my own fault. I think it was because my trailer on my page had copywritten music
Hmm.
because I'm an idiot like that. But it just bothered me that like Indiegogo wouldn't just be like, "Hey, yeah, it's your music. You should take it down." It was just like, "Hey, we made your page disappear. Good luck."
Oh, that's horrible. Does that also mean you lost all the people who were on your mailing list, or did you have that backed up?
No, the page was still there, and what I ended up doing is, since my first campaign for How to Die was late, and I don't tolerate lateness, um, all those people still got the books, and I basically doubled their order. So anybody who ordered a book on the first campaign got 2 copies, just because I had to make them wait so long, and I don't really accept that from anybody.
Right. Well, at least you did your best to make it right.
Yeah, that's why with this new book, it's like it's not going live until it's done.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't I don't I can't expect people to wait. That's just not fair. If I don't know when it's going to be done, it's not fair to ask people to wait.
Do you have a vague idea as to when you expect Noirlem to be done?
Um, it's been written, edited, re-edited, and re-edited. Um, the line art is about a third of the way done. Coloring is just getting started. Lettering hasn't started, and the cover is currently being colored. So I honestly can't answer that question. All I can say is that like people join the mailing list, um, they're going to get to see that journey. I just sent out the line art for the cover to the people that are already on the mailing list. They're going to get to see the journey from whatever. Whenever I have things, you all can take a look. I'll try not to spoil anything, but it's going to be an awesome story.
Nice. Let me see. Actually, Now that you mention it, let me make sure that I think I'm on the mailing list, but I better double check. I am. All right, good. All right. What's your inspiration for Noirlem?
So a couple things. I mentioned before that like when I studied literature, one of my favorite things was the Harlem Renaissance. It's probably my favorite artistic movement. I think it's underappreciated. The amount of like everything from uh, poetry, paintings, stage plays, film that came out of Harlem in the early 20th century is staggering to me. So I love that era. I love the 1920s. And then the other thing I love is murder mysteries, whether it's, a TV show, a book, a film. Um, and it's one of those kinds of stories that never goes out of style. People always love mysteries. And
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of a murder mystery taking place in 1920s Harlem. And I was just, driving around one day, and for whatever reason, I always mash words together, and I just mashed together noir and Harlem and came up with Noirlem.
All right. For a moment, I thought it was also a play on uh, New Orleans because
Oh,
they call it, the locals supposedly refer to it as Nolans.
oh yeah.
Uh, Matanui says, I keep saying the long and short of it for some reason. Every time I mean to say long story short. uh, uh, yeah, so how long have you been, well, how long has Noirlem been in the works? Like, when did you first conceive of the idea?
I would say probably about 3 or 4 months now since the idea first came. I mean, I've put a lot into writing this. Um, I know Eudaimonia seems pretty. Yeah, that took a long time too. But like, this is something that I've been spending a lot of energy, thought, and research going into. And the best way I could put it is this: I once spent 2 hours on a Sunday researching lunch menus from diners in New York City at 1929, just for one page, one scene that has a diner in it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's dedication. And
And I needed to know what would my detective order at a restaurant.
nice. So you got Noirlem, the long and short of it. Two unlikely heroes team up to track down the Hudson River Killer in old New York. Yeah, mysteries are fun. uh, let's watch the video.
Where are we going? Inside Heights. You want to tell me why? You ever gone out and killed some people before? No. Ever known someone who has? Ever arrested someone like that? Spoken to them for even a moment? No. Yeah, well, neither have I. No idea what would live in that man's head. But if I try, really try to put myself there, one thing I know for certain is that the first time I went and did it, it'd be a little bit closer to home than all the others. Why would you do that? Well, I wouldn't precisely. But after that first time, I'd be a little braver, go a little further, somewhere less familiar. A pattern is made without even realizing it. And that pattern points us back to where it all started, with Mrs. Dorothy Masters of Morningside Heights. Well, say hello to the last moments of one Dorothy Masters.
I think the music just keeps playing.
Oh, does it?
It was a nice song, so I wanted to let it, resolve itself.
All right. Yeah, I like that music. And were you the narrator? I mean, the
Yeah.
voice. You did the voice acting for both characters?
Yeah.
All right. Sound like your voice. All right.
That's the thing, though, is that it's so early in the process that things are going to get better. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll get a little bit better at voice acting, or maybe I'll find someone who's a little bit better at it than I am. So the next time there'll be a teaser, maybe it'll be in color, maybe it'll be, and you'll get to see it kind of develop over time. Also, and this is the best part about people who join the mailing list, I love a good perk, something real special. What I think I'm going to do for this is there's going to be Noirlem kind of put on a Zippo lighter.
Ooh.
And it's going to be, like a nice little maybe bronze or copper Zippo lighter. Because, the main character, Coleman, he smokes because everybody did. And for people who buy on the mailing list, that's just going to be free. It's just going to come with your book. Whereas it's going to be an add-on for anybody who's not on the mailing list.
Ah, that's pretty sweet. Is this going to be a working lighter?
What's that? Well, I can't. I don't know if you know a Zippo. Well, have you ever seen a Zippo before?
Yeah.
A Zippo basically is a shell with nothing in it, or it has like the little wick in it, and then you have to add the fluid, like the lighter fluid. So I can send you the Zippo. It's just not going to have any. You're going to have to get the lighter fluid on your own.
Gotcha. I thought for some reason that they already came included with already.
Well, no, because you know how when you go to the post office and they say, "Is anything in here fragile, liquid, or potentially hazardous?"
Right. True. That's a cool perk. And at first I thought you were going to say a diner menu.
Yeah.
So Noirlem, the long and short of it. There's a crazed killer stalking the Hudson River. Problem is, only Jay Baldwin, a rookie detective, has pieced it together. But when he encounters Coleman Carmichael, a man with an uncanny knack for deductive reasoning, these unlikely partners set off to clean up the bloody streets of old New York. Cool. I like this artwork. How do you go about finding your talent to join your team?
So for this book, I did things a little bit differently. I basically did tryouts where I would go online, find artists, and I would be like, hey, what's your page rate? Can you do a page for me? And, I'll pay you whatever your rate is for that one page. And just actually take the time to, like, instead of looking at portfolios and, a portfolio is going to be somebody's best work, I want to see how they're going to do it my work. And so I just kind of went through that for the line artists. It was like I saw a couple people, wasn't really feeling it, and then I got one. I was like, that's my guy. And then kind of repeat the process for the coloring.
All right. So your penciler, inks, and your colorists are different people.
Yep.
In this case. And do you basically
a little bit more thoughtful than I'm putting a lot more care into that aspect of it this time.
And did you let me see, do you like give a description of like a page of the story and then they interpret it however they will?
Yeah, I would basically just pick out one page and give that one page to multiple artists to see who's doing the best work, who's as closest to what I'm looking for.
Out of curiosity, when you do that, is that effectively the same as asking for a commission? or are tryouts like something that artists do for free?
No, it was. It was a commission. I would basically ask an artist, hey, what's your rate? And then,
Oh, okay.
hey, if I pay you for one page at your rate, but like let the artist know, there's a bigger project here, and I'm basically looking for people to try out for me.
Gotcha. And do you usually focus on a certain area like Facebook artist groups, or do you go to Deviant Art or other resources like that, or Instagram?
I usually stick to Reddit. There's actually a couple different subreddits that are just for people to collaborate on comic books.
Oh,
And to
wow.
kind of pair artists and writers, and yeah.
Nice.
Reddit is a cancer, but it's still useful.
Yeah. This is a pretty sweet image. Now, I don't know if it's my eyes because I'm short-sighted and all that stuff, but or I don't know, or is this? I'm looking at the perspective of the kitchen.
Yeah.
And it looks one way. And wait a minute. All right, maybe I'll have to reevaluate. But
are you talking about that painting on the wall that looks like it could be a doorway?
No, I'm looking at this line here, the ceiling.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see my cursor.
Yeah.
So if you follow this line, I don't think. Again, it could be my eyes. I'm kind of blind, but it almost seems like my brain is expecting it to line up over here.
Yeah.
And
I see it
then
now.
and then I'm looking at the table, and it looks like you start in the kitchen, and then as soon as you get past this wall, it feels like I'm going to be leaning down a ramp because of the angle of this table here. And then it's coming downhill from there, like the piano is starting to roll down or slide down a ramped room, if you will.
Yeah,
like it starts
I
off
see that too.
starts off flat in the kitchen, and then starts going at a slope. So I wasn't sure if it was my eyes or if it's kind of like a fisheye lens shot, where everything is kind of rounded. The further out you go from the center. So, it's still freaking cool.
Well, I'm never going to unsee that now.
It was just an observation. I was like, I wonder. And I really enjoy this coloring style.
Yeah, so
it makes
this is
colors.
This is what's called. They used to have these back in the. It's called a Harlem rent party, where, in order to pay the rent, because prohibition is going on and all that. So in order to pay the rent, they would just have like parties in people's apartments to kind of help them afford the rent. Have live music and dancing.
Well, how does that help them afford the rent?
Well, because it would be tickets. You would have to pay to get in.
All right, gotcha.
So you see that like the lady of the house is in the kitchen cooking because that's part of the deal.
Yeah, she hosts the party and it feeds and entertains, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. That's so neat. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you already know that you're shooting for 90 pages, full color, with Ken and White.
Yeah, that cover or that image I sent you on Twitter. That's that line art. Nobody has seen it except for people on the mailing list. So it's a WyzGyz Entertainment premiere.
Now, is this something you want to reserve for those on the mailing list, or were you wanting me to share it?
I sent it out to the people on the mailing list yesterday, so they've had their 24 hours of exclusiveness. But I thought it'd be nice to have like something to premiere on the show.
All right.
So go ahead.
Right on. Let me see if I can do it this way. Oops, wrong screen. Hello. Oops. Hello. Come on. All right, hold on. One moment, please. Oh, is that there now? No, it's not. All right, hold on.
I'm sorry. What have I done?
No, you're good. It's just it wasn't working as I expected. I was trying to do something. So I opened it up in one browser, and then I thought, oh, well, now that I have it maximized, I can copy and paste the URL to the image that you shared from one browser to the next. But lo and behold, it did not work.
How about if I just describe it?
There we go. Boom.
There we go.
Wow, look at that. Man, that's detailed.
Yeah, Kanan does amazing work. And at the end of it, I said, "Hey, do you have any colorists to recommend?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And then he hit me up with a couple, and coloring is in progress.
Did he? Is this the way it's meant? Is this a finished product, or is it, with that splash of red on the black and white, or is this in progress, work in progress?
This is it for. I actually had the same question too, but it is currently being colored. It will be in full color. But man, this would make an awesome, black and white version.
Yeah, like a print.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with or without the splatter of red, yeah. It would work. This is nice. Yeah, and so detailed. And you've got the old revolver, you got the cityscape in the background, shadowy figure in the distance.
The revolver was another thing that I had to spend. I spent a lot of time researching revolvers in the 20s, and then I actually submitted this to get some eyes on it, like the script, like just to kind of read through it and give me any, for somebody, professional to kind of give me their thoughts. And the person came back and had a lot of details and had a hell of a lot of things to say about guns and what guns were being used. So in the script I had, I think I had a 38 in the script, and he came back and he was just like, no, 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 no. This needs to be a 32 snub nose because that's what 38s are what cops use in this, And he just had a lot to say about guns. And I was like, you know what, man? All right, I'll take your word for it. I found an editor who really knew a lot about guns.
Nice. Is your editor working on the whole project with you?
No, it was one of those things where you basically just have somebody I just basically I queried a couple agents with it, and I've gotten some really good feedback on it, so that like maybe after I do my campaign and everything, I might look into like traditional publishing. I don't think I will, but it was still interesting because literary agents will it's a good way to kind of gauge interest in your book, just to have a couple literary agents, look at it. So if you send your script down, they're like, "Yeah, this is crap." Even if you haven't gotten anything, you're still getting something out of it because you're like, "Oh, well, this is crap and I need to go over it a little bit more and polish it up a little bit." So, I query literary agents purely for the practice of like getting free eyes and free advice from people. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. Because literary agents are the people you submit scripts to, right? To try and get your work published, like in a book, right?
Yeah, but if you treat them as like free feedback.
Yeah. That's pretty sweet. I've also heard that there are these groups of people, like I I guess there's a certain term for them, but it's like a collection or a community of writers or editors where you submit a piece to, and then they provide their feedback on it as well. Something similar.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much.
I did that in college, and that was just brutal.
What was it?
It was, because it was like fellow students, and it's just like people who have no idea what they're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'm some great literary genius.
Right.
But when I have people that are like I'll give you an example. I wrote a poetry about a restaurant. Or I wrote a poem about a restaurant. And in the poem, I included a reference to the Holy Trinity. And nobody in the group got the fact that the Holy Trinity is a reference to both, what you normally think of it as, but it's also a reference specific to cooking. Every culture has their own version of the Holy Trinity. So French cooking has onions, carrots, celery.
Yeah.
Asian cooking has onions, peppers, celery. Asian food has ginger, and so it's this thing, and like nobody got it. And it's like, if you guys don't get my references, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? It's just frustrating to be like, because the feedback isn't usually helpful. It's just like them saying like, I didn't like this. It's like, all right.
I once took a
workshop. That's what it is.
All right. I once took a poetry course in community college, and I found it helpful. I mean, periodically we get together and form our chairs in a big old circle, and we'd have ready like a draft of our poem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like first revision, and then we hand it off to like the person to our left, and then we take turns reading each other's works, and then I can't remember if it went all the way around and people added their notes or feedback, or if we only just shared it with like the two people flanking us. But I found that kind of stuff interesting and helpful. And then we review the notes and make any changes as needed. Then next time we got together in a group circle, we'd have our revision 2 ready, and then we try and see, look over the progress of how far we'd come.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like the more you take it seriously, the more painful it is. So if you're, if you're like a bunch of people who don't take it that seriously, you can genuinely improve. But if you have, just like 12 egos in the room, it just gets harder and harder.
Oh man,
it's like the only person I want to listen to is the professor. Everybody else can just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite poet? Do you have one?
I unfortunately don't.
Okay.
I've read a bunch of poetry books, but I haven't yet found one that I truly love. I mean, I like a lot, but I don't love any one particular one yet.
I usually find that if I just stick to collections by particular poets and just read everything they've ever written, I generally prefer that to just like a collection of like a hodgepodge of different poets.
Oh, okay.
So like read all of Frost, and all of Dickinson.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's some good stuff, but yeah, I enjoyed the poetry class, but I didn't get super deep into it.
So I'll tell you a quick Harlem story.
Yeah.
There's this poem. It's called "If We Must Die," and it became famous all over the world. So like, officers were telling soldiers about it in like World War I and like reading it to them as motivation. It was read in the halls of the U.S. Senate. It was read in the House of Commons in Parliament. And what's funny about it is that people read this poem all over the world, and hardly anybody knew what it was actually about. Because what it was about was there was a guy in Harlem named Claude McKay, and he came over from the Bahamas, I think it was, and he worked anywhere. He would do any job that he would do, and he and his friends are riding. He's a waiter on a train in Chicago, and the train stops in Chicago, and he gets off, and he and his coworkers are about to get lynched because that was very common back then,
Mm.
even in like up north, because this is like early 20th century, post Reconstruction. And so he wrote this poem that was like, "If we must die, let us not die in vain." And it was all about like, if we're going to die, let us put up a fight. And so everybody read this poem all across the world. Hardly anybody knew where it came from, what it was about, who wrote it. And that guy, Claude McKay, is considered that poem kickstarted the Harlem Renaissance. It just
Huh.
blossomed from there.
Really?
That's one of my favorite Harlem stories. And Claude McKay is probably my favorite poet ever.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I didn't hear that one. Yeah, this is a cool looking piece. So, is Kanan your interiors and cover?
No, just the cover.
All right.
I couldn't afford that.
I was gonna say. Oops. Hold on. Wah, wah, wah. Oh, very cool. 90 pages, full color. Kanan White, Noirlem. The long and short of it will be 90 pages of full color, hard-boiled thrill set in 1920s Harlem, and will feature a cover in progress by none other than Kanan White.
Well, I got to update. That's not in progress anymore. Now it's in progress by the colorist.
Ah, true. Yeah. Sign up for the mailing list for exclusive perks. I always like to include exclusive perks for mailing list buyers. Backers have found a hand-drawn sketch with their orders, so be sure to sign up. Yeah, cool books. Eudaimonia, How to Die. Plus, get these couch cushions to go with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then you got this visual representation of how I feel about late campaign. How I feel about late campaigns and not keeping your promises. Oh, that's cool. This book is in its infancy and will not launch until it's finished and ready to print. Yeah, the good thing about doing that is the very fact that there's less stress and pressure at launch because you got all the work done, the heavy lifting done, and all you got to be concerned about is fulfillment and promotion. So yeah.
Yeah, when I owe somebody a book, that rests heavy on my soul. So when How to Die, when that first campaign finished, and I realized, like, man, at this rate, it's going to be like 6 months. That just absolutely killed me, and never again. I hope that the backers from that campaign are happy that they got those extra books, but heavy.
I bet, yeah. Yeah, it looks like a cool book. Hey, welcome. Hey, Gothic Arch. Hey, oh, very nice. Welcome, Brian Crisco. Howdy. Absolutely love the first Eudaimonia. Great book and highly recommended.
Thank you, Brian.
Nice. Yeah, good words from on your previous books. Besides what you already mentioned, have you come to other conclusions on how to improve this campaign over your past ones? Any other lessons learned?
I think on this campaign, I'm going to have to actually charge international backers like a little bit more for shipping, because like it's untenable. Like I was charging people so such a low amount, and I can't really do that anymore. So I think number one, having more of the book done when I launch. Number two, charging what I think is a fair price for, because this is going to be my biggest book. It's 90 pages. So charging what I think is a fair market amount, and doing things like having 2 packs, 3 packs, something out there for people to buy more than one, and actually charging what it costs to ship a book to Europe. You know what I mean? Like, because I was thankful to have all the backers that I had from Europe, but I basically paid them to take my book. You know what I mean? Because I just, you're paying $25 and I'm only charging like $10 in shipping. That's like the book right there.
Hmm. And did the cost of shipping to Europe end up running around $25?
Yeah. So I was thinking not the full amount. Like if I should be eating some of the shipping costs because that's only fair. But making it something that's a little less burdensome on my wallet. You know what I mean? So I'm at least getting like a little bit of overhead, or not overhead, a little bit of profit.
Right. Brian says it's terrible having to charge our overseas customers $26 for shipping, but we'll find a way around that eventually. Excuse me. Yeah. That's one of.
Maybe like get a Zeppelin or something.
There you go. That's one of crowdfunding comics' biggest challenges, I think. There are people coming up with creative ways to get around it, and that includes partnering up with someone in the other country.
Okay.
And, splitting not necessarily splitting it down in half, the distribution, or proportionately, I guess is the right way to say it. Let's say 60% of your backers are in the US and 40 are in the UK. Then you here in the States will receive 60% of the printings, and then the big batch of the remaining 40% are shipped directly to your UK counterpart to start fulfillment from their end. And then they ship things cheaper locally than you would if you were, sending it that way. Same goes for US to Canada, US to Australia. Are you having the books printed, or have you been getting the books printed and then sent to you and then you fulfill yourself?
Yeah. I don't think I'm ever going to be like something big, but I think no matter how big or small my books end up being, I think I would still do that myself, just because I want to have that kind of connection to the product. You know what I mean? So like, let's say this book or the next book blows up and I sell 1,200 copies in crowdfunding, I would still want to send every single one of those, and I would do it as however long it took. I would take time off from work and package them all myself and sign them all myself and tape them up myself, just because I like, that's my favorite part of this. My favorite part of this whole process is getting to put something I made into a box and sending it to somebody who cared enough to support it.
Yeah. You're kind of like Santa at that stage. Sending it all to the awaiting backers.
Yeah.
There's, let's see, Rabbi from Another Planet, as I understand. He's actually getting his book fulfilled, I think, by Mixum. And Mixum supposedly has facilities in different countries like UK and US. So if I understand, all the Mixum is also a company that does printing and fulfillment.
Oh, do they? Actually, that's who I use.
So if I understand, it's Mixum. I could be wrong. but I would have to double check with Rabbi from Another Planet.
I got you.
But supposedly, with them having facilities in more than one country, they can handle the fulfillment that needs to be done in the U.S. from the U.S. facilities, and then those that have to be done in the U.K. from the U.K. facilities. Because they receive the digital file, all the perk stuff is scheduled to be mailed to Mixum for fulfillment, and you basically, I guess you send a list or whatever, or breakout of who gets what. And that's something I just recently heard about. So
yeah, I need to look into that. That sounds pretty cool.
I mean, ultimately, I think it's going to require a solution like that to effectively get things shipped at reasonable shipping prices. Because now with the UK, you got to deal with the VAT tax.
Yeah.
And that's killing people. You may have heard that when it comes to things like toys and stuff, I think EVS said that he's going to go with selling to UK through eBay, because they can handle and manage the cost better through eBay rather than selling to the UK through the campaign on Indiegogo.
Okay.
But books and other stuff he'll still do, I think. But when it comes to like build toys and action figure sets, it sounds like he's gonna use eBay, his eBay store, to handle that.
Huh.
Let's see here. Yeah, definitely. What do you call that shit out, Google? Someone got their comment deleted by what? Someone got
I gotta grab something off the stove. I will be right back. Okay?
Yeah, go for it. Someone got their comment deleted by Google? What? Jeez. I mean, people in my chats tend not to be like rude or can't sign each copy, though, unfortunately. I'm trying to remember how that was supposed to work. I guess maybe I should wait till he returns. He shouldn't be long. He's just got something on the stove. By the way, how are you all doing? I'm glad you can make it to the stream. Sorry I was late.
Oh, sorry.
All right, not a problem. Gothic Art says, can't sign each copy, though, unfortunately. The way I think this might work is if you got copies you need to sign first, you'd have to have Mixum or whatever the company is that does it mail you the quantity of copies that need to be signed, and somehow you send back in bulk the signed versions for them to fulfill. I don't know.
Yeah, if you see my book, I have a massive signature. I like to make sure everybody gets it.
There's another thing that people could do when it comes to signatures, rather than physically signing each book. It's kind of hokey, but
the sticker.
Either a sticker, like a squarish white sticker. You sign those and just send the batch of signed stickers to be inserted into the books, or a small card or something. But
yeah, the thing is, I always hated that. Like, if I got, I collect a lot of things, but I collect vinyl records, and I hate it when I order an autograph. Like, they announce, like, oh, it's going to be signed, and then you get it, and it's just a card inside. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
It's got to be on the cover.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just not the same. That comment you just read got deleted by Google. Really? Jeez. Are you talking about this one? Will you cut that shit out? Or are you talking about the terrible having to charge overseas? I swear Google's trying to phase out channel mods. Man, jeez. Google's like, oh man. It's all about censorship. They're getting crazy. These big tech companies want to control how people think. Yeah, so.
That's why I'm going to switch to 2 tin cans and a piece of yarn.
Yeah, but what if someone walks by and ties their piece of string onto
oh my
your
gosh,
can string onto your string? Then they'll be able to tap your phone and they'll be able to know what you're talking about.
tapping my tin cans.
Yeah. Then what? Then what? How do you prevent someone from bugging your phone? You know?
Yeah.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Have you decided what your goal is going to be? Is it going to be fixed or is it going to be flexible?
I usually do flexible because I have a back catalog, you know. So on the next campaign, and you know, the catalog keeps growing with every campaign. So every campaign is another opportunity to sell more books. So for How to Die, I think I ordered twice as many printed as I sold. So I got lots of How to Die to sell. I still got lots of Eudaimonia to sell. So I'm not too worried about that. I can always put together bundles and, you know, digital libraries. So I usually try to do the flexible goal, and wherever it ends up, it ends up. Put together a nice bundle, the whole library, the whole back catalog together.
Gotcha. So this campaign is going to give you the opportunity to pick up the other books from your catalog.
Yep. And then let's see here. So Noirlem will be next. And then after that, it's going to be How to Die number 2. And then after How to Die number 2, it'll be Eudaimonia number 3. Are we frozen? Oh no. Am I leading the show now? All right, guys, it's my show now. Let's see what we got in the chat here. WyzGyz says, my camera went out, didn't it? And then WyzGyz says, my camera went out, didn't it? And then WyzGyz says, my camera went out, didn't it? While we wait for WyzGyz, let's have a look at, well, let's see what John has going on at the sports desk. John? Well, today the women won the bronze medal match, 1-0 in their defeat over Australia. Sorry, that was actually 4-3. Megan Rapinoe scored 2 goals, and oh, we're back.
Mutiny.
My show.
Oh my gosh, that was lame. It acted like I lost my internet when I obviously didn't. What in blue blazes?
I was looking at the screen and I was like, wow, either he's not reacting to this at all or something's wrong with the camera.
So I probably was just a still image, right?
Yeah.
On my end, you looked fine, but on my smaller image and on the shared screen, it was just a buffering, spinning circle, you know?
But anyway, where were we? Oh, okay. So, yeah, after Noirlem, there's How to Die number 2. And then after How to Die number 2 is Eudaimonia 3. And then I'll probably think of a book by then. Actually, I've honestly been thinking of asking around if anybody wants either some editing services for free, or need some writing done for free, or need some writing cleaned up for free, because I basically have more stories than I have time to make. So I kind of get those creative juices going, and I realize that, like, if I write this now, I'm not going to make this for like 5 years. So maybe slow down a bit and see if you can either help somebody else or help somebody get some script cleaned up, or just do something with those kind of energies. So if
Well,
anybody out there needs a comic book, wants to have a comic book made, and needs any script writing done, hit me up, because I will do it for nothing.
nothing. What? You don't want to at least charge a commission price?
Nah.
Wow. I mean, but if you got so many stories, why not just put them down to paper so that you have them, even if it takes a while to, bring them into fruition, into reality.
I would say I basically have 5 to 6 stories working, kind of like churning in my head all of the time. And whenever the time is right to put them on paper, I put them on paper. I don't really forget anything. I just kind of keep them brewing there, and just keep those ideas working until it makes enough sense for me to put down.
Oh, okay. Hey, that's a good deal. Yeah, free services. Can't beat that.
Plus, it's like I said, you get better at something by doing it. So the payment would be, I'm going to get better at it if you have me do it.
Yeah, there you go. Good point. Do you... All right, so that's sort of the equivalent of a catch-up tier, if you will, for those who missed your previous campaigns. So that's cool. And they're all going to be first editions, too, aren't they?
Yeah, I actually had more of those than I realized. I think I have... Yeah, so I think on the next campaign, it's just going to be the first edition bundle. There's only going to be 5 of, because I am starting to run out of Eudaimonia. But yeah, I figured I was going to do a first edition bundle of like everything, and then a How to Die bundle where you can pick those 2 up together.
All right. Do you already have well, actually, I know that you haven't yet, excuse me, since you're still working on the book and you don't plan on going live until the book is finished, have you already laid out what your tiers are going to be on the page, and kind of done a rough outline of what the different tiers are going to be? What's included?
I'm not quite there yet. Right now, what I've been doing is I've been studying really hard at other people's campaigns on Indiegogo, and just seeing how because I think of an Indiegogo campaign as kind of like being a newspaper. The more you scroll down, the less likely somebody's actually reading that. So everything needs to be in a certain order. And I think that's another thing I struggled with in past campaigns. So I'm not quite at the tier part yet. I'm still at the, how can I put this together in a way that is efficient and will get the most amount of eyes on the things that I think will do the best job of selling the book to them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I've been reading through a lot of campaigns, and there is a lot of crap on Indiegogo. Like, I don't know if you've ever looked through the new launch campaigns, but some of these pages are like train wrecks. Like, things that just say like, "Hi, I want to make this. Thanks, bye." Like, it's crazy. Like, there's no thought put into what you're actually trying to sell people on, as far as like the idea of the book, what's going to entice people, what's going to excite people. So that's where I'm at right now. And so I posted an image on Twitter the other day of the "for fans of" image.
All
I
right.
don't know if you saw that, but it's like, what picture can somebody look at and be like, "for fans of," and then there's like, Frank Miller's Sin City, Chinatown, Batman, Gotham Noir, that can like really grab them and just be like, "Oh, I like those." So, this is something I want to get on. And so I'm still at that kind of phase where I want to have a really good, tight, solid here's what the book is before I get to the tier. The tiers will be next. I also kind of need the cover art like finished in
Right.
order to do the tier, because then I would need to make the promotional images for those.
Yep. Hey, Baz, how's it
Hey,
going?
Baz.
Hey, people. Yeah. Now, when you're looking through Indiegogo's pages, are you looking at each, a bit of everything, not just comic campaigns, or?
I mostly stick to comics, but I'll go through by like trending, ending soon, newest, like a little bit of everything.
So, are they usually Comicsgate books, or are they any indie comics on Indiegogo?
It's a mix. Like, I recognize a lot of the Comicsgate people, but you would be shocked at some of the things on there. Like, I saw a campaign that it had $900 raised, and it was at 0%, and I was like, how could it be $900 and it's 0%? And then I clicked on it. Their fundraising goal was over $1 million.
What?
And it was their first campaign.
What? $1 million?
Go into Indiegogo Comics and just sort by new. You will have your mind blown by what is up there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, whoa, that's nuts. That would make for a cool and interesting stream. Actually.
Yeah. I randomly found one today that I actually think I might back, that I don't know who this person is, but they just have a really cute looking book, and I was like, it was like a children's book, like a children's comic book, and like, that's not for me, obviously, but the amount of care and how well done it is, I was like, I'm gonna back this book. Like, this looks really good. I've never heard of this person, but they put in the effort, and they have a good looking campaign. So like, I'm really taking things from a lot of different places. Like, so if you're a fellow creator on Indiegogo, I'm looking at your shit, and I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna use some of your ideas on my campaign, because it's what I'm terrible at.
Baz is asking, when does How to Die 2 launch?
How to Die 2 is a bit of a ways off. I've written about a fifth of it, but it's going to kick ass. Like, it's going to, like, the first book was a lot of like setting things up and, kind of getting characters into their places. And this How to Die 2 is going to be more action. It's going to be sexy. We're going to introduce a character called Madame Gray, and she's going to have two forms. So she's a homeless schizophrenic who has the ability to control how people perceive her, and she's basically undead. So she's going to have these two forms where it's like, there's the version of her that she wants people to perceive her as, who's like beautiful and sexy, and then there's the real her, who's like a gory monster.
Does it go into how Black Ice came to be?
It does. It basically involves kidnapping the guy whose name I've already forgotten in my own book. It goes into basically kidnapping his mind and her kind of basically explaining his origins to him. And then when you find out how it is that she knows so much about him, that's like the big twist of this book. And so the three combined are basically like rock, paper, and scissors.
Oh, all right. Cool. Did I ask this already? What is, do you know what your funding goal will be? I know you mentioned it's going to be flexible.
Oh, for Noirlem? Like a couple grand. Book's getting made no matter what. But I'm thinking, because I'm doing such a slow burn on the build up to it, I'm fairly confident this is going to be my most successful book. And I was thinking of making a hardcover stretch goal at like about $5,000.
Oh wow! Yeah, I like hardcover stuff. I know it's still early in the process. You're still working on the campaign page, but do you know what types of things you'll be including in your various perks?
I was thinking, well, the Zippo for one. Okay, so there's going to be a perk that comes with every book, right? And it's going to be a perk that is not like any other perk that there has ever been. And what I mean by that is it is going to interact with the reader. Now, I don't mean that it's going to have some kind of, it's going to be like a choose your own adventure thing or anything like that. And it pains me that I can't tell you more about it. But what I mean is that what one character does to another character, the perk is going to do with you. It's going
Whoa.
to mimic what happens in the book with you.
Oh wow, that's intriguing. Wait, it's a snub nose revolver, isn't it?
Yep, that's right.
Oh, I knew it.
It'll be the last book you'll ever read of mine.
Oh damn. Yeah, I do like that Zippo lighter idea because I have not seen any campaign with one of those.
Yeah, they're actually not all that expensive either, especially if you get them in bulk.
Oh, cool.
I think they come out to like 75 cents a pop.
What? With the Zippo brand?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Because it's basically a metal shell with a rope inside. It's not that expensive.
Well, yeah.
So you get like 200 of them. They're like 80 cents a piece.
When you put it that way.
But having that logo on it's going to be pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, when it comes, you were discussing, pouring over Indiegogo campaigns, comic book campaigns, trying to see what works and what doesn't, what appeals to you and what doesn't. It seems like some of the most common things are, if you do a trailer, make it no more than a minute and a half. You want the trailer to be not too long to where it bores you, but you also want to keep up a certain pace. You want it to be action-filled and also informative. As far as I'm concerned, I like a wide variety of trailers, whether it be voiceover, text, but not too much text. And then for the campaigns themselves, the imagery in the first 2 or 3 images, the way I see it, and from what I hear from other people, is that it's going to be images that kind of pop, that draw your attention, and not all of them will be all the same standard size. You might have one that's a little bigger, maybe one's a portrait versus a landscape. And then you also don't want a thing. And of course you want to include interiors, so people get a feel for what to expect inside, so they don't feel like they're getting ripped when you've got a super beautiful cover and you've got less than stellar art interiors.
Yeah. Well, the video on my page is technically, I'm calling it a teaser. Trailer won't be ready for a while because I won't have, like you said, like those really kind of beefy, grab you by the collar interior shots. They're not done yet. So, this is a slow burn of a campaign, and I just have like a kind of a teaser to kind of let people know, like, hey, we're early in the process, but this is what we're about. And that's that patterns video.
Yeah, and sort of in the vein of what John Malin would say, you don't want the length of your story/body portion of your campaign to be too much longer than the last perk on your list.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind if it goes a little further than that, but sometimes people get way carried away and throw in too many interiors and
Yeah.
you
One
know.
of the things I've seen that I'm starting to warm up to is just having images. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants to read a wall of text,
Right,
but
true.
if you have it on a nice professional looking image and just, say what you want to say and have it like in the foreground of like a nice piece of art, it's like you're kind of doubling up on the art thing. You know what I mean? So you have your beautiful art, but then you also have the text that has more art behind it. You know what I mean? So you
Hmm.
just bombard the viewer with content instead of words.
Yeah, yeah, all right, yeah, I can see that. Um, and when it comes to the perks, you want a selection, but as I see it, you also want to take advantage of the add-ons feature in Indiegogo. So you don't have to have a tier for every single combination of your book plus swag.
Yeah.
You can set up a base tier that can be just that, a base, and then you could do everything else a la carte. But you want, I don't know, 4 to 6 perks maybe, no more than 8, I think. Yeah. Uh, and one of them should be featured, obviously,
Yeah.
because you want to get the best bang for your buck kind of feel. And
Can I ask you a question?
yeah,
What do you think of that whole putting in a faux discount? You know what I mean? Because it's like it always seemed weird to me because it's like if I'm setting the price, me putting in like $25 as the value and then putting in $20 as the price so it shows up as 20% off. That always seemed really silly to me.
I thought it was always kind of unusual.
Yeah.
Especially when Indiegogo decides to trigger it early in the campaign when it thinks it's making slow movement.
Yeah.
I think that's the main goal for putting it in there, so that if their algorithm thinks that you're not getting enough bites, that quote unquote discounted rate might draw in more eyeballs and interest. Um, I know it can make a difference, and it will uh, bring in certain people and encourage them to back it. But generally speaking, I don't know. I don't know. I find myself sometimes, I back a lot of campaigns, you know, in part because, I want to put my money where my mouth is, and back projects that I think are good and books that I think are good. And there are times where maybe I've backed a campaign early on, but then I revisit that campaign, and then maybe they've included some new stuff to some additional tiers. Maybe they've introduced or offered some trading cards or sketch cards that I'm interested in, or I just love the project so much I want to back it again. If I see it at a discounted rate, even if it's that faux discount, I will I will be more likely.
Oh no. We lost him again. Okay. Wise guys in the chat says, "Dang it." He says, "Dang it again." Well, when he gets back, I'm going to have to ask him about the one touch. Okay, guys, while he's gone, let's just flood Noirlem with signups. Just get in there. Just throw your name on there. You know you want a good detective story from the 1920s. You know you want a sweet ass Zippo with a logo on it for when you're lighting up your Chestertons. Hey,
Man, what the hell? Oh man, this is pissing me off.
hey, did you like the How to Die sketch card with the one touch case?
Oh man, that was pretty damn fancy. It's like, dang, wow.
The little magnetic.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
When I got those in, I was like, man, I wish I had a better looking card to put in this. Because I basically found those one touches on eBay. It was like a bulk lot of them used, and it was like really cheap. And I was like, man, people are gonna be getting this really mediocre looking card, but man, it's gonna be an awesome case.
Oh my gosh, that's trippy. Yeah, that was a super fancy case. I was like, whoa, you went all out.
If they made those like for comic books, they would make so much freaking money, I swear. Like, could you imagine a giant plastic magnetic case to protect your comics?
Oh man, that'd be wild.
And it wouldn't be that much more expensive because they make it for like photos.
Wow, craziness. Patches cost more than that. Crickets got them. Yeah, the crickets and the it feels kind of muggy out there.
Where are you at? I don't even know.
I'm in Ohio right now. Yep, Ohio. Seriously, I cannot stress how sick I am of trailers spoiling the entire fucking plot. Yeah, you definitely don't want to spoil the plot. Yeah, and please, and don't spoil the entire plot in your trailer. Yep. True. Yeah, I don't know where on earth I got cut out, but basically I was saying that I back a lot of campaigns, and even though I know some of these little tricks that Indiegogo, if I see a tier that has that quote unquote faux discount, that still will kind of nudge me towards backing it again.
Duly noted.
Especially if it's something new added to the campaign. Maybe someone's added some stretch cards from an artist, or maybe there's a training card or some extra variant cover. Yeah, so there's that too. And when it comes to tiers, like I said, maybe 6 to 8 at most, not too many. The way I see it is you come up with appealing looking tiers, and from the excluding the featured, which is always going to be at the top, starting with the first one and working down. The way I like to see it is that you've got like the smallest tier, like the main book, and then you've got the next one, which might be the main book in a variant or 2 copies of the book, and then so on and so forth, and where you keep building and building the bunch of books and swag and stuff until you get to the end, which has the most, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have to cover every single little combination, mixing and matching, because you save that for your add-ons. And then what I also encourage is that any creator also make available. I know it's not a big draw right now, but I still think it's a good idea to create like retailer packs where you have a batch of 5 or a batch of 10 books at discount, or maybe 10.
Yeah, I think 10. Yeah, because I think 10 sounds.
Yeah, 10's good. Some people also do 2. like for people in Europe, for example, they team up with a buddy. They order the 2-pack. They each get a book and they split the shipping in half.
Huh.
Um,
I was not expecting to get this much useful information on a stream tonight. I just wasn't ready.
really?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's really helpful.
oh, cool.
Sometimes I feel like I'm out on an island.
Well, you know, I've been promoting Comicsgate books since September, October 2019. So I'm trying to be one of the positive forces in the community and share knowledge, you know, help people improve and help people achieve their dreams and, you know,
Well, it's appreciated.
make successful campaigns. And I'm basically going on all the information I learned from these interviews and from these promotional streams. I did want to add, when it comes to perks, not everyone does it, but I personally encourage you, if you can, to add 2 or 3 higher end perks, because there are people in the community who maybe they are drawn to your book, maybe they aren't, maybe they're more interested in you succeeding, but if you have a couple larger end tiers like 100, 200, 500, maybe you can get your artists to do 5 or 10 interior art pages on traditional Bristol board.
Mm-hmm.
This community is really big on traditional art and collecting, and that kind of stuff is really cool. And I'm into that myself. so I'm really big into original art and cover art and sketch cards and, you know, that kind of stuff. And those can help flesh out your different tiers as well.
Yeah, I think that's another thing I've struggled with. And I've even gotten messages from people who are like, how can I give you more money? Like, I've actually gotten that message or email like multiple times. Like, hey, I want to give you more money. How can I do that?
Yeah, that's why I think high-end tiers, you don't have to go super crazy. You don't have to go like 700,000-800,000.
You can get a Noirlem boat.
There you go. And you know, you'll also find that some of these people, like, they can be very generous, and they might not necessarily even need all the books and the swag. They might simply want to donate money into your campaign.
Yeah.
And that's when that donation portion is helpful. But I think there's certain rules on how that donation part works. Like, after a certain time, I guess it disappears, because, you know, I'm used to seeing it at certain stages, but I've never really kept close enough track as to when the monetary donations are available.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are some who simply want to see you succeed, and they believe in your project and what you have to offer. So you gotta, you know, in a sense, cater to those different those different budgets, if you will. One of the things I bring up as an example, not because I'm trying to knock them or anything, but you ever check out the campaigns for Billy Tucci She?
I've seen him, but I have not.
So I think he's pretty awesome. I like his products. But I find his campaigns to be overwhelming sometimes.
Okay.
Very much like I do with like the Miss Fury campaign, and I think to some extent even like Todd McFarlane's campaigns. You know, the really big guys and stuff. They've got so much to offer, so many artists that they bring on board to help make this cool stuff. And you've got this big old long list of stuff on the tiers, and big old long lists on, you know, showcasing all the different perk items. So, for example, on Sheet, I feel like I spent 45 minutes to an hour just browsing through the tiers, trying to understand what I was getting, trying to understand what I wanted versus, you know, how to get the most of what I want in the fewest number of purchases and tiers. And literally, I must have taken 45 minutes to an hour just browsing that page. And a lot of people don't want to spend that much time on a campaign page. And that's where the featured tier comes in handy.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like you're in a grocery store, right? And you know how they have all that stuff at the registers? Impulse buys. It kind of works like that. If you're just cruising around, you want to support a bunch of campaigns, those people are usually going to go for the feature tier. Feature tier, in my mind, is like best bang for your buck. It hovers somewhere around the middle price-wise, because you've got not the cheapest tier, not the most expensive, somewhere in between, right? And feature tier usually runs around $75 to $100. But going back to the She campaign, right? So he's got some amazing artists he works with. So of course you got interiors on the body portion. There's chunks of text here and there. You know, it's all great to look at. And then if I remember, there's like 5 different covers, and then 5 different prints based on those covers, you know, the same artwork, but in prints. And then you've got, I guess, book and a print tier of that artist. And then you've got some where you get all the books together, and then all the prints together, and then all the books and the prints together. Basically, it just ended up being a really long list. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I've had variant fatigue for a while.
Right.
Like I tried to do it once, and I don't know when I'll return to it. You know what I mean? Like I think it's because I'm here for the stories. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I know a lot of people. I know comics people, generally speaking, are more than 50% art, less than 50% comic story. But that's just who I am. I'm a story guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I love art. I appreciate it, but I'm here for you know what that art is saying, not so much the visual spectacle.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, the art initially is what draws me in. And
Yeah.
the story, I hope, is good enough to back up the book, you know, back up the artwork and enhance it, you know, give it the +1 to it. Yeah. So, yeah, when it comes to variants, I think a campaign should probably have no more than 2 variants, especially for a first timer. But you're on your 4th book or 5th book.
Yeah.
You have some experience and know what works for you now.
Yeah, I think the other issue I have with variants is that a lot of times there's not enough to discern between them. You know what I mean? Like I'll see a variant and it'll be a cover that it just looks like the same it looks like it's conveying the same thing as the others, but by a different artist. So like the difference between them is not noticeable
Right.
enough to want to buy it.
Right. Hey, welcome, Daniel. Hail. You've heard of Berserker, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't participate in the campaign, basically because of how it was run and how they were doing a combination of crowdfunding and making it available in comic shops soon thereafter, and that they had this huge timeline of it. But when they started coming out in comic shops, I ended up starting to pick them up. So, but each title seems to have about 6 covers,
Ugh.
a main one and 5 variants, if I'm not mistaken, or 4 to 6. And so I found that I almost did that stupid thing about being a completionist, but then
Yeah.
I looked more closely at it, more discerning, and then I went, okay, here are the ones I think are the best. I'm just going to pick up these. I'm not going to get every single one, especially when a couple of them look like drab and boring. Nothing unique about them, you know?
Yeah.
So
I have way too much addiction in my family history to not notice completionism. You know what I mean?
yeah. And in certain areas, I might be considered a completionist, but in most areas, I'm not. But
Well, I mentioned before that I collect records. That's another thing I collect, and it basically got to a point where I just had to walk away because everything in records got really big again. And I managed a record store like a decade or so ago,
uh-huh.
and so I was there and I watched as the practice of producing records just became almost predatory, like with the prices and the different colors of and like watching it getting more and more ridiculous. At some point, I was like, all right, I'm just not going to do this anymore because it's not. I don't like it when I feel like I'm being exploited.
Yes. Yeah, it's I guess a year or two ago, it seemed like LPs were making a comeback. And what they were doing then is like they were doing re-releases, and then they were making the LP plastic multicolored.
Yep.
And it was like, okay. And now you're wanting to charge $24 per LP.
Oh, it's way worse than that now.
Oh, jeez.
An LP is like $40 now.
Oh, damn. That hurts my soul. Oh, dang.
And twice a year there's Record Store Day, and they just keep re-releasing the same like David Bowie records for $40 a pop.
Oh, shit. Oh, man. That's sad. Man. Yeah. But anyway. Yeah, so that's kind of my views on, or some of my views on Indiegogo campaigns and the kinds of things to like look at or focus on or consider. So yeah, don't make it too freaking long. Have a trailer if you can, and or a teaser, and or photos across the top that you can click on to browse through and see some more interiors or some close-ups. Don't make too many tiers because you can take advantage of a la carte products shopping, and that way you don't have to have so many individual tiers with very minimal increments in incremental differences. Excuse me. And use a bunch of imagery and not too much chunks of that, not too many chunks of text. And also somewhere in there include who the creative team is, you know?
Yeah, I messed that up on my last campaign. I straight up had somebody ask me who was doing the art, and I was like, or who did the one cover, and I was like, oh, you know what? I forget.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you showcase in the main body or story portion
Yeah.
of the campaign, if you're like trying to share with everyone the cover of the book, it helps to put the artist's name. Yeah. So those are a bunch of the takeaways that come to mind. I'm sure
Well, this has been very, very useful. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Excuse me. So definitely looking forward to this book. This is very unique. I'm looking forward to it. And did we discuss roughly when you thought you might be launching this? Like, do you think later this year, or do you think it might actually take till start of 2022?
I'm thinking it's going to be close. It's going to be, I would say, if I had to guess right now, probably early 2022, like maybe January.
Okay, right on. Also, keep in mind. Oh wait. So when did you launch the pre-launch?
I think a couple weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago. All right, good. All right. The reason I ask is because pre-launch pages will remain up for 6 months. If you haven't launched by then, or at the 6-month mark, then Indiegogo takes down your entire page, your pre-launch page, and you risk losing all your people on your mailing list.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna keep an eye on that.
yeah, make sure you don't let that 6-month period terminate. And might be a good idea to do what some people do and back up periodically your mailing list.
Oh no, I do that like every other day.
Oh, well then.
Well, because I'm sending out like weekly updates, which means I have to download it again.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and that's another good point. When it comes to updates, it's also handy once you've gone live, of course, to make use of the updates tab, so that people who don't necessarily read your email or weren't on the mailing list can see the progress of the campaign as well from the Indiegogo.
Definitely.
Yeah. Let's see what else. And you said that you do all your own fulfillment. You get all the products, the books, the swag, and then you personally box everything up because this is one of your passions, something you really enjoy in the process.
Yep, and stamps.com makes it easy.
Cool. Yeah, I hear of a lot of people using that, and very cool.
Yeah, first Eudaimonia 1 and 2, that was me walking to the post office with a backpack full of books, like 10 at a time every day for weeks. So yeah, being able to just print out and do it from home is a lot easier.
Wait, walking because you wanted to exercise, or you didn't have a car that was working?
No, I just like walking.
Oh, all right, cool.
And the post office is only a couple blocks away.
Oh, wow, that's hella convenient. Have you thought about getting one of those little wagons, those collapsible wagons?
No, but those priority mail crates, they'll just give you one of those.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I stole one, but yeah, they'll just give you one.
Wait, priority mail crates?
Yeah, those little white, got a handle on each side. They're basically what they say priority mail on the side. Like they're basically what the mailman is using when he's bringing up the mail. They'll just give you those at the post office.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow. Huh. That's interesting. I knew that they offered all their one-rate shipping boxes for free, and a whole host of other stuff for free, like um, the address labels that you use for the priority.
Oh yeah, I think they do that though because that's pretty expensive. Like sending anything priority mail is expensive, or at least it's way more expensive than media mail.
Yeah.
But like they're not giving it to you for out of the kindness of their hearts. They're giving it to you because they want you to use priority mail.
Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and if it fits, it ships.
Yeah.
I mean, that can be handy, especially if you have stuff that's really heavy. Just stuff it all in there. All right. Sweet. Trying to think. Is there anything else we might not have covered that you wanted to share about this project?
I don't think so. Zippos for the mailing list. If you like hard-boiled detective stories in 1920s old New York, jump on board. I think that's about everything.
Do you?
I'm not here just to like tell one story because it was my dream. I'm here to tell stories as long as I'm able to tell stories.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, you know what? Ah, shoot! I just realized that I totally forgot to reactivate my wrong one. Where did it go? What did it do? Blow it away? Um. Well, I used to have. I thought I had. Now I have it. What the hell? Yeah, everybody get on this mailing list. Are you willing to divulge or share how many people are on your pre-launch list so far?
It is. Wait, before the show or now?
Now.
Well, before the show was 37. Now we're at 41.
Sweet. Yeah, it's looking like a good book. I'm eager to check it out. Get on the mailing list. Get the chance to get a Zippo lighter. That's going to be really cool. Definitely unique, something that's not offered on other campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, how many campaigns offer give you something that you can commit a crime with?
Only you can start forest fires. Okay. All right. So.
I know we forgot.
Oh, what did we forget?
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh.
I always make it a point to tell anybody that has me on for a stream how much it means to me to have me on.
Oh, no problem at all. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for hanging with us today. I am going to give you the floor. I meant to ask Noirlem, do you intend for this to be an ongoing series?
Yeah, yes. I already have the second, the solution to the second book is already wedged in my head. It's like I was saying before, I got stories to tell, and I got, I'm going to have some ongoing series. And it's like a mystery is, at least for me, it's a solution and that you have to work backwards from. So I already have the framework for the next one kind of laid out in my head.
Are you looking to have each volume or each book be a self-contained mystery? So by the end of it, into the whodunit, you've got the solution. You figured out who the criminal was, how they committed the crime.
Yep, it'll be like a good episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Right.
There's nothing that's you have the mystery and then you have the character story. And you need to have that mystery to wrap up, but it's also nice if you have something that you're building off of for the character, which I think that's just part of what makes like a really good mystery. And so, yeah, self-contained story. I did a video on my YouTube channel recently where I kind of, laid out my thinking of like, it's basically a short video essay on what I think makes a good mystery and kind of lays out the thought that I'm putting into this book. So Noirlem Volume 1 has 26 clues. There's 26 pieces of information that the reader can trace to the killer, and there's nothing that the detective doesn't there's nothing that the detective uses that the reader doesn't already have. And so my hope is that that moment at the end where you get to see him mold it into the solution is satisfying for the reader.
Cool. Are the two detectives going to be the common thread throughout all the volumes?
Yes. They're going to be friends at a certain point and enemies at another. You know what I mean? It's like they get along, but sometimes they don't get along. And there's a lot of friction between them.
Ah, sweet. Cool. Yeah, you don't want them always getting along, otherwise it gets boring.
Yeah, it also gets boring if one of them is always winning over the other. You know what I mean? Like they need to have arguments where one of them makes a point and the other one also makes a point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gotta have kind of a balance. All right. I am going to give you the floor. Whoop, wrong one. Give you the floor. Would you share with the world how you can be found on social media?
So I am Rain Radio on YouTube. I am Eudaimonia Comix with an X on Twitter. I'd love it if you want to come along this storytelling journey with me. I have this will be my fourth book. I have a lot of stories to tell. If you like things like history, philosophy, horror, mystery, thriller, noir, I'm probably going to have a story for you. So make sure you jump on that mailing list. Make sure you throw me a follow on YouTube. I'm here to tell stories. And that is my time.
All right. Awesome. And as all of you know, you can find all my social media in the description of every one of my streams. I want to thank all of you for joining us in chat. Thanks so much for hanging with us. I really appreciate you. Now, please like, comment, subscribe, mark the bell for notifications. We are at what? Let me double check. I had it on the top of my tongue, and then I go and forget it. Let's see here. So I am at 377 subs.
Woohoo!
Yeah, 377 and counting. So slowly moving on up. Sometime in the next 3 years, I should be eligible for monetization. So that would be cool. Want to thank everyone who also watches this on replay. You guys rock. Peace. And thanks especially to our very special guest, JP.
Thanks again for having me.
Y'all, thank you again for joining us, and we shall see you on the next stream. Take it easy. What the heck? Why is this not working? Hello? Anyone? I just froze. What the frick?
No, you didn't.
On my end, my camera froze. I'm still looking to... All right, now I'm not. Oh my gosh, how crazy. Why is it... I'm on freaking Ethernet. Why does it think I'm... All right, so we're still live. All right. Take it easy, y'all. Have a good night. Bye. See you on the next stream.
Bye.
Guest is the only person below White Holiday in the Comicsgate phone book. It's my favorite failed clone of Peter Sametti. The YouTube WyzGyz. How you doing, Connie? Welcome to the show.